Tonight on Skyline, Indians in America, they are facing pressure from every direction. Green card dreams, they are collapsing after the US officials ran out of the EB2 visas for Indians. Racism against Indians is now becoming a political issue inside America itself. An Indian couple was publicly humiliated and told to get out of the United States. A drunk Gujarati driver caused a massive blackout in Illinois. And at the very same time, Indian origin professionals are also rising to powerful positions in America's tech ecosystem. Indian investors are pouring money into the US market faster than ever before, but now even the H-1B jobs themselves, they are under threat after a proposal to massively increase visa wage shocked the whole immigrant industry. And finally, a shocking scandal involving an Indian origin doctor in the United Kingdom is kind of raising serious questions about ethics and abuse of power. I am Driti Atri, this is Skyline, and here are the 8 explosive stories that will shock you tonight. Thousands of Indians waiting for American green card, they are facing another devastating immigration setback. The US State Department has officially announced that all EB2 immigrant visas for Indians have been exhausted for fiscal year 2026. Now understand why this is huge. The EB2 category, it is one of the most important green card pathways used by highly skilled Indians who are working in America on H-1B visa. This includes software engineers, tech workers, healthcare professionals, managers, researchers, and highly educated professionals. From now until September 30, 2026, no new EB2 green cards for Indians can be approved, whether applicants are applying from inside America or outside through the embassies here. And tonight, the emotional impact, it is enormous because many Indians have already spent about 10 to 15 years waiting, buying homes, raising American children, building careers, and planning entire futures around permanent residency dream. But the backlog, it keeps on growing. You know the real problem? It is structural. The US immigration law limits how many employment-based green cards any single country can really receive. Because Indians, they do dominate America's high-skilled visa system, right? India's demand massively exceeds yearly limit, in fact. And now experts warn that things could become even worse. Yes, immigration law firms say the dramatic forward moment in EB2 and EB3 categories may become extremely rare going forward because worldwide demand is now consuming almost all available visa number. Some experts now openly admit that many Indians may face waits measured not in years but in decades. And tonight, that creates one terrifying question for Indian professionals. How do you build a stable life in a country where permanent residency may never fully arrive? And yes, while green card frustration grows, racism against Indians, it is now becoming a political issue inside America itself. Tonight, Indian Americans are receiving rare public support from members of the United States Congress after racist rhetoric targeting Indians exploded into a national political controversy. House Resolution 1322, introduced by Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy alongside the lawmakers including Pramila Jayapal and Suhas Subramaniam. It formally condemns racist language directed at Indian Americans and Chinese Americans. You know what makes this extraordinary is that resolution indirectly points towards Mr. Donald Trump's own social media activity. Well, the controversy erupted after Mr. Trump reposted a far-right podcast calling India and China hellholes. Now that single report, it created diplomatic tension, political outrage, growing anxiety among immigrant community. The resolutions say attacks based on ethnicity are un-American. Indian Americans are very, very important to the US and the world knows about it. Elected leaders must stop promoting ethnic division and anti-Asian hate that must be condemned very clearly. Now tonight, this matters emotionally for millions of Indians in America because anti-Indian rhetoric, it is no longer limited to enormous internet trolls. It is increasingly entering the mainstream political conversation. And yes, at the very same time, this resolution, it also reveals something important. The Indian diaspora is becoming politically powerful inside America. Indian origin lawmakers are no longer remaining silent when Indians are targeted publicly. In fact, they are now using legislative power, media influence, political visibility to push back aggressively. And tonight, this kind of reflects a bigger transformation. Indian Americans are no longer just immigrants working very quietly in tech and medicine. They are becoming an organized political support inside the United States. And yes, while lawmakers condemn anti-India racism, a viral video is now showing exactly what many Indians fear privately in America every single day. A viral video from the United States. It is sparking outrage after an Indian couple was allegedly subjected to a racist confrontation by a stranger. Well, in the clip, a man sitting inside a car, he asks whether they are from India before aggressively telling them, "Get out of my country." The husband, he very calmly responded that both India and America have positives. When they asked why they were in the US, the couple explained that they were simply exploring the world. But the stranger, he continued attacking them very verbally. Now tonight, what shocked many viewers most was not only the racism itself, but the calmness of the Indian couple. They did not scream, they did not escalate, they remained composed while being humiliated publicly. In fact, social media reaction exploded instantly. Some praised the couple for maintaining dignity, others argued remaining silent may encourage racist behavior further. But this incident, it reveals something much deeper emotionally, that many Indians abroad increasingly feel constantly watched, judged, targeted in public spaces. And according to report, anti-India content online, it is rapidly growing. Some influencers, they allegedly create viral videos mocking Indians publicly just to gain views and engagement. Now, think about the emotional contradiction that Indians are facing. America depends heavily on Indian talent in technology, healthcare, engineering, and research. Yet, some immigrants increasingly feel unwelcome socially. And stories like this creates fear not just for visa holders but also for parents in India whose children study or may be working abroad. And while Indians, they do face growing social hostility, another shocking incident involving an Indian origin man, it is now making headlines in Illinois. Tonight, a 27-year-old Gujarati man living in Illinois is making headlines after allegedly causing a major road accident while driving truck. According to police, Mithil Kumar Patel, he lost control of his Subaru Outback late at night and crashed into a major electricity pole. Well, the impact, it was so severe that the power pole, it was completely uprooted and collapsed across the highway, shutting down traffic and cutting electricity to 462 homes. You know what makes this story dramatic is the scale of disruption that was caused by a single crash. Well, highways were fully closed. In fact, emergency crews rushed to the whole scene, power outage spread across neighborhood, and hundreds of families remained in darkness for hours. Well, the police says that Patel was charged with driving under the influence, illegal alcohol possession inside a vehicle, and improper lane usage. Despite the horrific crash, Patel escaped without any major injury, thankfully, and he managed to exit the destroyed vehicle himself. But tonight, this whole incident, it is also reigniting the conversations about drunk drive, immigrant responsibility abroad, and how quickly one reckless decision can destroy lives and reputation. Because let's be honest, for immigrant community, incidents like this, it often becomes bigger than individual mistake. They shape public perception of the entire community. And yes, while one Indian origin man faces controversy, another Indian origin professional is now achieving major success inside America's technology ecosystem. Tonight, Indian origin engineer Senthil Subramaniam, he is making headlines after joining the GS1 US Board of Governors, basically a major cross-industry organization influencing the retail commerce, supply chain, healthcare system, and global product standards. Now tonight, this is not just another corporate appointment. It reflects how deeply Indians are now embedded inside America's technological leadership structure. Well, he currently oversees Google's massive shopping graph infrastructure, basically a system responsible for managing product information powering Google search. In fact, YouTube shopping advertising system and global e-commerce experiences. Before Google, he also helped build Yahoo's advertising system, and he was part of the original Hadoop team that transformed the big data computing globally. His journey, it reflects a classic Indian immigrant success story. Engineering degree in Chennai, higher education in Texas, leadership role in Silicon Valley, and now influence inside America's corporate infrastructure ecosystem. Tonight, his appointment, it also highlights something important here. Indians are no longer only employees in American tech companies. Increasingly, they are becoming decision makers, shaping the global digital infrastructure itself. And yes, while Indian origin professionals rise inside America's tech leadership, Indian investors are now pouring money, and that a lot of it, into the US market faster than ever before. Indian investors are increasingly spending money into American stock market, and the numbers are exploding. Well, according to RBI data, Indian investments into global equity and debt securities jumped nearly 44% year on year. Now tonight, this reveals something fascinating. Even while many Indians fear instability in America politically, financially, the US still remains deeply attractive globally. Why? Because the American market continues outperforming major global market. Well, the S&P 500 surged strongly while Indian benchmark it remained relatively flat during parts of that particular year. At the very same time, the weakening Indian rupee increased gains for Indians who are investing in dollar assets. And now, Indians are investing in the US market through international mutual funds, global ETFs, foreign brokerage platform, and NSE 11 international access system. Many Indians now see the US investing as global diversification, protection against rupee depreciation, and exposure to the AI companies with long-term wealth growth. But there are complications too. SEBI restrictions limit how much overseas investment Indian mutual funds can really hold. Some global investment schemes remain partially restricted though because of foreign allocation caps. But still, tonight, one thing is very clear. Indians increasingly want global financial exposure, and America remains the center of that ambition. And yes, while Indians invest heavily in America, the future of H-1B job themselves may now be under threat. A proposed new rule from the US Department of Labor is creating massive anxiety across Indian tech communities in America. Well, the proposal, it could sharply increase the prevailing wage requirement for the H-1B workers across all salary levels. Immigration expert, in the meantime, they warn that this could completely reshape the hiring economics for the foreign workers, specifically Indians here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, according to estimates, entry-level H-1B wage, it could jump dramatically. Level 1 wage up by 33%. Level 2 up by 24%. Level 3 21%. Level 4 22%. Now think about the impact in places like San Francisco. A level 1 software developer salary that requires a rise of over $45,000 under this particular proposal. Well, supporters argue that the rule protects the American workers, but let's be honest, critics say that it may effectively price out highly skilled immigrants from the US job market entirely. The immigration policy analysts also say that the proposal could face legal challenges because research shows that the H-1B workers, they are often already paid equal to or maybe higher than a comparable American worker. Tonight, Indian tech workers fear companies may respond by hiring fewer immigrants, moving job abroad, increasing automation, or shifting hiring AI system entirely. Well, for many Indians in Silicon Valley, this feels like another signal that America's immigration system, it is being increasingly unpredictable. And yes, while Indian workers face growing pressure in America, a shocking scandal involving an Indian origin doctor, it is now making headlines in the United Kingdom. Very sadly, I'm informing that an Indian origin neurosurgeon in the United Kingdom has been sentenced after a shocking misconduct scandal involving a former patient. We are talking about Chirag Patel, a consultant neurosurgeon at Cardiff's University Hospital of Wales. He was suspended for 8 months after a tribunal found that he had improper relation with the patient and prescribed highly addictive opioid medication without any proper recording in the medical file. According to report, Patel operated on the patient multiple times between 2019 to 2021 before beginning a personal relationship with her shortly after the surgery. Well, the whole relationship reportedly continued for months. Now tonight, what shocked the investigators was not only the relationship itself, but the misuse of medical authority. The tribunal found Patel continued prescribing controlled drugs outside proper emergency protocol while failing to document the prescriptions officially. In the meantime, Patel claimed that the patient blackmailed him emotionally and threatened to expose the relationship. He said that he feared losing the career he worked years to build. But prosecutors, they described the behavior as reckless, unethical, and an abuse to international trust. Well, tonight the scandal is sparking debate across Britain around doctor-patient boundaries, opioid use, abuse of power, and professional ethics, and that too inside healthcare system. And sadly, stories like this, it also affects public perception of highly skilled immigrant professionals abroad. Ladies and gentlemen, in the end, these stories may appear disconnected. Maybe there's green card collapse, racism, viral attack, immigration pressure, financial ambition, tech anxiety, and professional scandals. But together, they reveal one major reality. Indians abroad are becoming more powerful, but also more exposed. Indians today help power the Silicon Valley, American healthcare, Wall Street, AI system, global commerce, and international innovation. Yet at the same time, Indians abroad increasingly face immigration uncertainty, political hostility, online racism, emotional pressure, and unstable future. And tonight, many immigrant families are asking the same painful question. Is the global dream still worth the emotional cost anymore? I'm Driti Atri, and this was Skyline. Trust me, the next phase of immigration, technology, and global politics, it may become even more emotionally intense than the people are prepared for.